Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial is going to be a quick video on how I do my stencils for my wood signs. I always use the shelf liner from Dollar Tree. If you haven't tried it, go ahead and try it. I really recommend it. It's all that has worked for me. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but it always worked great for me. So here in this part, I am just weeding out the stencil. That way I can go ahead and apply my Glad press and seal over it. So I am going to go ahead and try to speed up this process. So now that these stencils are all weeded out, I'm just going ahead by applying the Glad press and seal right over the stencil. That way that works as my transfer when I put it onto the wood. And of course I should have cut down to size, so that way I'm not using too much and wasting it. So I'm just cutting out the excess here. That way it doesn't get in my way when I go ahead and apply it onto my sign. And I'm going to repeat the same steps for the other two parts of the stencils, which is applying press and seal over it as well. And just to let you guys know, we do have two little ones that were here in the background playing and throwing toys and stuff, which is why I chose to do a voiceover for this video. I had to keep checking on them, looking over and all that. And props to hubby for helping me do another project by painting it for me. Okay, so here's the final stencil that I have laid over with the press and seal. And of course, those scissors were not working out, so I had to go ahead and grab my Cricut scissors, which are way better. I don't know why I didn't use those in the first place. Here I'm just going over with my Cricut scraper just to be sure everything is good to go. This is the sign I'm going to be putting the stencil on. I just wanted to show you for reference. It has a frame. I've already stained the backing of it. I've already painted the background white. So all I have to do is apply the stencil. So for this clip, I'm just showing you the colors and products that I used to stain the sign. It's not really a stain, it's more so of a wax, and it actually ended up working very well because it has less of an odor and drying time is much shorter. So I use the Home Decor wax. It's in the color Antique Wax and it's by the brand Folk Art, and I did find this at Michael's. I really like using this product now because the drying time, like I said, is much quicker and it does have the same effect, which you can see when I'm showing you. And I did just go ahead and apply it with a small little cosmetic wedge that I found at Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the paint that I used for the white background. This is the Craft Smart Multi-Surface Premium Chalky Acrylic Paint, and of course in the color white. Again, I did find it at Michael's and I applied it with a cosmetic wedge as shown, and I did about 2 layers for this. So in this clip of the video, I'm just showing how I'm going to be laying down the stencil. I just want to make sure everything is going to be all centered. That way it is all good to go once I start painting the letters. And again, I apologize if this recorded sideways. I think it was how I was holding my camera. So here I am again, just cutting off the excess press and seal that I don't want to get in my way when it comes time to laying it onto my sign. Okay, here is how the sign looks after all the excess press and seal is cut away from it. Trying to make sure it's going to look all centered. Okay, time to go ahead and transfer this stencil onto the sign. Just going over again with my scraper and slowly removing the backing, like so. And then that part is what will be applied onto the wood sign, which I will try to show you here. Okay, so I couldn't record this part since I was the one having to go ahead and make sure everything was centered perfectly, but I will go ahead and show you in just 1 second. So there is the stencil on the wood. And I'm just going to go ahead and go over with my little scraper there, making sure everything is nice and stuck on. You want to make sure even the little parts are perfectly stuck. And then there I am just removing the press and seal very carefully, and it doesn't leave any residue on my background or anything. Like I said, I've never had issues using flat press and seal. So I'm just going to repeat the process for the next 2 stencils, which I will show you fast forwarded here. So here I am removing the Glad Press and Seal from the final stencil, and there is the look before I paint the letters. I go ahead with a quick layer of Mod Podge. This step is totally able to be skipped if you don't want to. I always use it to prevent the letters from bleeding when I do paint them, the color. So I just do a quick one layer on all of them throughout the whole sign, let it dry, and then I start painting. Here I am just finishing up doing the thin layer of Mod Podge and just gonna let that sit, let dry before I start painting the letters. Just showing you the chalk paint I use, also from Folk Art from Michaels, along with this small foam brush that I'm gonna be using. Shaking up the paint. And I do try to make sure I don't waste a lot of paint. I don't like to pour it all out. So I'm going to be using paint from the top of the jar, which I will show you in a moment. Just wanted to show how I do not swipe the paintbrush with the paint on the stencil. If I did that, I would probably risk trying to tear the stencil. So I just do light pounces basically, and then once that dries, I go ahead and do another layer of paint. So just going ahead and repeating the process for the other two stencils. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this part because it did take me a little bit of time. So here is the final look of the sign with it all painted. That is 2 layers of paint right there. Just gonna let it dry a little bit before I go ahead and remove the stencil. Finally, time to remove the stencil. I do like to let it dry a little bit, but be semi-wet. But as you can see, super crisp lines, except that little marking above the N, which I do point out, and is super easy to go over really quickly with a little brush. So after those minor fixes, all I have to do is remove the little loops in between the E and the S and the rest of the stencil, and we're done. Here is the final look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to click the bell for notifications of new videos. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in our next video. Bye!